Hello and welcome to the IABC International Podcast. My name's Dan Gold, and on this special edition of the podcast in video and audio is Max Luthy. Max is a keynote speaker at the IABC World Conference in June in Chicago. Max, it's so lovely to have you here.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
So let's start from the very beginning. For people who have maybe read the brief introduction on wc.iabc.com or maybe haven't made it to that step yet, give me the elevator pitch of who Max Luthy is.
Elevator pitch. I need a really long elevator. Essentially, I'm the director of trends and insights at Trend Watching, and communications is a big part of the kind of the trends that we track. We track trends through a lens of innovation, and that includes everything from product design to services to marketing and the wider comm space. So before Trend Watching, I worked in ad land. I tried to start a very independent record label where, funnily enough, I was so focused on the communication side of things that I didn't realize I didn't have a viable business model, which is, funnily enough, how I ended up at Trend Watching.
So you've had, by a natural pathway to where you are now, experiences of being on trend, missing a trend and being nearly on trend, and really learning through experience.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's quite funny actually. If trying to start a record label in 2010, it would seem like I'm not the person you should go to for advice about the future, but yeah, maybe that's where maybe that was my first brush with disruption.
But that's the truth, isn't it? Some of our greatest lessons are through not necessarily the greatest successes.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you're going to be speaking at World Conference, as I've already mentioned. We're speaking about trends, or you're going to be speaking about trends. Give me an outline of what the session is about, and maybe one thing that people will really be able to hook on as they walk away thinking, I need to pay more attention to this.
Absolutely. I mean, I think, so the session is called New World, Same Humans. And really the reason we're calling it that and framing it that way is it's so easy to get caught up in the change that's happening, and the communications industry is experiencing a whirlwind of change. It's a cliche to say it, and I'm sure I'll say it on stage in June. Feels like the rate of change is accelerating, but in spite of all of these breaking technologies, whether it's blockchain, 5G, quantum computing, or people spending time in completely different media formats, and biometric data, space travel, trade wars, climate change, so much change going on. A lot of people like to sort of try and overwhelm you with that. And actually, my goal will be to really connect with the audience and say, what we can do as professionals is look at how that change bumps up against universal, fundamental human needs of your customers and your clients and the people you're trying to reach. And that's what we're going to do with each of the 5 trends. We're going to look at trends that emerge as change bumps up against a human need, and innovators find ways to meet that human need in a new way, a way that's better than previous offerings.
Do you think sometimes we hear from, and I actually hate to use this, and apologies to anyone that does use this, but we hear every January or at the beginning of a decade or at the end of December what's coming next from futurologists, and futurologists very often are banging on about the new ... but don't always relate it back to the basis or the basics that we are still humans that need to communicate with each other and engage with each other in a meaningful way.
Yeah, absolutely. I think people get caught up in the sort of the method and the new channel or the new technology, and not actually the feeling, the emotion, the human impact you're trying to deliver. And I'm going to tie it back, whether it's our universal desire for self-actualization, for trust, for value, for empathy, for connection, for love. Like, one of the things I think people really like about a Trend Watching session is we show you all of this exciting innovation. It's all cutting edge, but it comes right back to these really easy to understand human needs that everyone in the audience can relate to.
What I love about this is I can immediately envisage in my head and say if I'm wrong, but immediately I can see a big triangle in front of me, and I can see the hierarchy of need immediately in front of me.
Yeah, we do. I do bring that up. I bring up good old Maslow quite a bit. Yeah, I think it's fascinating and so much. I was just at, funnily enough, a kind of actually an event for content marketers yesterday, and it came up how, why is it people are looking for businesses that align with their values? And it was very much like people have a roof over their head, they have food in their belly, they have LaCroix in the mini fridge at the office. So they are sufficiently comfortable that they can start saying, okay, how do I improve my mental well-being? How do I improve my physical fitness? And also, how do I live more ethically? So yeah, I think it's still a remarkably good framework to use in a situation like this.
Max, we're very much looking forward to your session at World Conference. But if we wanted to give people the opportunity to find out more about you before the session itself and maybe get in touch, how could they do that?
Well, the best thing to do, as much as I'd like you to follow me and connect with me on Twitter and LinkedIn, which you're more than welcome to do, I represent Trend Watching, where I'm a director of trends, and we've spent the last 17 years publishing free content that is highly regarded. Just hundreds of thousands of professionals around the world sign up. So I would probably recommend as a starting place the Innovation of the Day newsletter. So if you go to trendwatching.com, I think it's trendwatching.com/subscribe. You can follow Innovation of the Day, but also we do a quarterly publication, which is fantastic. And you'll find, if you subscribe, you'll find all kinds of, a gold mine of content.
Max, thank you so much for joining me here on the IABC International Podcast. We are very much looking forward to seeing you in Chicago and looking forward to your session very, very much.
Thanks so much. Can't wait.